Hello, I'm Alexia, and let me help you to take the fear out of birth with a mix of real-life positive birth stories and birthing experts sharing their wisdom. I'll also be sharing techniques for getting into the fearless birthing mindset. And join the Fearless Momship community for bonus podcast episodes, access to free birth preparation downloads, and loads more stuff to help you to prepare for a positive birth. Join today at fearfreechildbirth.com. Hello and welcome back to the Fear Free Childbirth podcast. This is me, your host, Alexia Leachman, and thank you so much for joining me today. Now, on today's show, I've got a fabulous, positive birth story to share with you. And what makes this story so incredible is that the woman who is sharing the story, Grace, she has a really positive, empowering birth, and that was despite all her worst fears coming true. So it's a really, really great one to listen to. And there's so much that you can take away from today's story. But before I hand over to that chat, I've got a couple of things I just want to share with you. So first of all, there's the new Fear Free Childbirth member area. If you haven't joined the member area yet, then you can do that. You can do that for free. And the member area is where you can find all the podcast resources to go with the podcast. So, you know, some of the episodes, you get some free stuff that come with the episode. Well, they're all in one place now. So you can just join the member area and they're all in one place. Easy for you to download. And you can join that for free just by signing up for the Fear Free Childbirth community on the homepage of the Fear Free Childbirth site. If you're in the US, I've tried to make it super easy. You can text 444-999. You just text my name to 444-999, and once you send that through, you'll get a confirmation text, and that will also you'll immediately get some login details to enable you to join the member area too, because you'll need login details to get access. Now, it is free, so don't worry about that. There are paid things inside. There is going to be a new paid members level, which is going to have loads more content that's currently being prepared at the moment. I've got some experts that are going to be joining me to sharing some great content. And so that's going to be you can almost think of it as your online antenatal resource to help you prepare for all aspects of pregnancy and birth. But that is coming soon. If you want to join the waiting list for that, where you will get a special launch deal, then you can join the waiting list too, and you can do that at the homepage of the Fear Free Childbirth site. Okay, now I've got some shout outs to say as well. I've got a shout out to say to Katie in Oz. Now, Katie, hello Katie, you first got in touch with me because you wanted to prepare for pregnancy because you had some fears that you knew you wanted to tackle before getting pregnant. But then the universe decided to get involved, and Katie found out last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, that she is pregnant now. And so now she's having a mild panic. So, you know, hello, Katie, you are going to be absolutely fine. And, you know, sometimes we just need someone to force our hand and make us do the work that we need to do. So I think this is probably what's happened in your situation. And then I've got a shout out for Sarah. Sarah had her 12-week scan this week, and she was really looking forward to it. But she's also planning her wedding, which is in 5 weeks. And I'm like, oh my goodness, Sarah, good luck, because that sounds like you've got a lot on your plate. I'm sure you're going to be fine too. And she's also looking forward to the webinar. If you haven't signed up to the webinar, I'm doing some webinars at the moment. You can find out details as well on the Fear Free Childbirth homepage and also on the Fear Free Childbirth Facebook page. So I'm going to be doing a live Q&A all about helping you to prepare for your birth. So if you're pregnant and you want the opportunity to ask me some questions and also just learn some more stuff about preparing for your birth, then sign up for one of the webinars. And then also I got a shout out to say to James. She's in the Facebook group, the Fear Free Childbirth Facebook group. She's 37 weeks along with her second child. She's got a little 2-year-old running around. And she's feeling a little bit exhausted, but she's been getting a little bit nervous. But having listened to some of the podcasts, she can feel her mindset and confidence growing stronger. That is brilliant news, Jane. I'm so pleased that this is helping you, and she's loved having found the Fear Free group. Now, if you do want to come and find the Fear Free Childbirth group, then there's lots of discussion going on in there. In fact, we've got one going on at the moment around pushing, when to push, when not to push, what to do if your midwife tells you to push and you shouldn't push, how to know if you need to push, all that kind of stuff. And some of the birth professionals we've got in the group are sharing some really great resources and articles to help you with all that. And also, if you when you do join the group, a lot of the past guests that I've had on the podcast are in that group too. So if there are any past episodes that you think, oh, I'd love to ask so-and-so a question based on hearing them and have the chat, then they're probably in the group, so you can probably ask them directly. So do come and find the Fear Free Childbirth group. Okay, that's it for shout outs and little updates and all that kind of stuff. So it's now back to today's episode. Today I'm speaking to Grace. Now Grace is going to be sharing her positive birth story, but this positive birth story is really, really special for loads of reasons. And one of the main reasons is that basically all her worst fears came true during her labour. So this is a positive birth story that talks about how you can still have that positive birth experience despite all your worst fears coming true. And for me, this is really, really important because, you know, when we prepare for our birth, we can prepare as much as we want for our beautiful birth centre birth or our water birth or our beautiful home birth, but we don't know that that is actually what is going to happen. Any number of things could happen during our birth that means we don't get the birth that we want. So, you know, many people spend loads of time preparing for the birth that they want, but they don't spend a lot of time preparing for the birth that they don't want. And if that is the birth that they end up getting, how do those people handle that? How do they still come out of their birth experience feeling positive if their birth didn't go the way they wanted, or if all of their worst fears come true? And that is what today's story is all about. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you a story from Grace. Now, Grace was a huge fan of the podcast. She gobbled up all the episodes as much as she could while she was pregnant because she loves to do her research. And she is also somebody that was really up for facing up to her fears. So she spent a lot of time during her pregnancy really working on her fears as well. And so this is what really helped to put her in good stead in terms of how she handled her birth experience. So I'm not going to say anything more than that because really it is just a wonderful story and Grace is just an absolute joy to listen to. Now, one of the reasons that I love this story is that Grace used the 5-step head trash clearance method to clear all her fears while she was pregnant. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because she does refer to the method a little bit during our chat, and I just wanted to prepare you and give you the heads up. If you're interested in finding out more about the head trash clearance method, then I'll talk a little bit more at the end if you want to find out more about it, find out where you can get it and all that good stuff. But yeah, that's what she talks about. But there are other fear clearance methods are available. So just because she talks about that, it doesn't mean that that's the only way that you can go about clearing your fears. I think the value in listening to what Grace has got to say is the fact that she faced up to her fears, she looked them in the eye and she dealt with them while she was pregnant, which gave her the best chance of having a positive birth. Now, I'm not going to go on any further. I think the best thing to do is just to listen to Grace sharing her incredible birth story, and you might even spot that my voice does get quite shaky at moments because it's just so wonderful. I think I'm just getting really soppy actually listening to all these birth stories. Anyway, enjoy listening to Grace. Well, hello, Grace, and welcome to the Fear Free Childbirth podcast.
Well, hi, Alexia. How are you today?
I'm doing really, really well. Thank you. Really well. I am so excited to have you on because you are a fan of the show, a listener of the show, and I get so excited having listeners on the show. So thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I am so honored to be here.
Now, you are going to be sharing with us your pregnancy journey and your birth story. And the reason that we're here having this conversation is actually brilliant because I put a feeler out to the people who subscribe to my work, my list, saying, hey, have you used the technique that I share? Have you used all this stuff? Because I'd love to feature anybody who's used it in my book. And you came back with a lovely story about how you've used it. And then it started a whole bit of an email conversation. And I thought, you know what? I've got to get you on the show. So here you are. So I'm not going to tell any more about the story. I'm going to let you talk about all that. But that's how Grace is on the Fear Free Childbirth podcast. So anyway, Grace, before we start, just tell us who you are. Who is Grace, so that the listeners know who you are and what you're up to and how come, what your family life is like, so they can kind of get to know a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Grace again. I have a husband and we've been married for 3.5 years now. He's in the military, so we move around a lot, away from family right now. We have one kiddo. Her name is Zoe, and we have a dog named Dallas. And we're a very close-knit family. I'm close to my family. He's very close to his family. And obviously we want that for our immediate family too. So I'm very into health and nutrition, and I try and live the healthiest lifestyle possible. I'm always doing as much research as I can for whatever is happening in my life. And so I think it was the same for pregnancy. I just couldn't put the books down. I couldn't stop researching. And my sister-in-law introduced me to your podcast, and I just I just like binge listened to all of your podcasts in like a week, pretty much. And then I was just like waiting every week. I need another podcast. I need another podcast. And of course, my husband was like listening to them. He loved them. And so then, obviously led to me finding your head trash clearing, and might be getting a little ahead of the interview here, but.
No, it's good. Yeah. So basically, this is because I wanted to know about listeners that have been using the head trash clearance method to get over stuff and prepare on their pregnancy. So we know that you've used it. We've know you used it, but tell me first of all about your pregnancy. How was your pregnancy? Yeah. When you found out you were pregnant, was it planned? Were you excited? How did you feel at the beginning?
Yeah. It was pretty planned. We decided we wanted to start a family, and then we weren't like. I wasn't like counting my ovulation days or anything like that, but we got pregnant pretty quickly, and I actually found out a couple of days after Mother's Day.
Oh, lovely.
So I remember taking a test on Mother's Day, and I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to find out I was pregnant on Mother's Day, and it was negative, and I was really sad. But so I had a wonderful pregnancy. I really did. I can't complain too much. I had a little nausea, little discomfort towards the end, but I was really trying to focus on having the most relaxed, the most, at the same time, energizing pregnancy that I possibly could, just like getting excited and connecting with my baby and, starting that relationship right off the bat. So I had a wonderful pregnancy.
What were you doing to get yourself into such a great place? Were there things, you were doing yoga, meditation? What kind of things were you kind of doing to help you to get to this being, it sounded like you were Zen-like calm through your pregnancy.
Yeah.
What were you doing? What's the secret to this?
Well, I was doing, first of all, lots and lots of research, which that's just me. If anybody knows me, they know I'm constantly researching things and like reading articles and reading research articles and stuff like that. So whenever I came across your method, the head trash clearing method, I was like, oh, this is great. Like I'm sure there are lots of things that I'm freaking out about right now that I don't even know about, because I know that's a thing. It really is. When you dig down deep inside, there's lots of trash. There's lots of trash to come out. And I have a lot. I kind of thought in my head, like, oh, like I am going to have the perfect pregnancy. I'm going to have the perfect birth. I don't have any fears, really. Everything's fine. Everything's perfect. But then whenever I really started searching for it, all of that trash started to kind of, come to the surface. And so I really used your head trash clearing method a lot. I found it very, very helpful. It was just wonderful. It was kind of weird at first. It was kind of weird.
So because I know what you mean when you say that, because I use it all the time. Yeah. But to somebody that has never tried it, how would you describe that feeling of like that weirdness that you're describing?
I think it was mainly the touching.
Oh yeah, holding the hand position.
But it actually makes sense now to me, and I couldn't do it without doing that now. It's just kind of like trying to eat your food without a fork. Yeah. And then also step 3 was kind of weird to me because but it was very helpful. It helped me. It made me think about each thing. It's like what, because you're supposed to kind of concentrate on it for 2 minutes for each, on each thing, whatever. My insert head trash here is a wonderful thing. And then you're supposed to think about that, and so my brain is always working. So I would elaborate on that. And in my head, I just would go off. But then, I'd go to the other thing, for mine was C-section. So whenever I would say, I love C-sections, I'm sitting there, I don't love C-sections. I hate C-sections. I'm terrified of having a C-section. But then, the more I did it and the more I really made myself face that fear and think about it, it wasn't as terrifying. And it actually became like, okay, like this is actually a good thing in the right circumstances, and so, and for other things where it's like, one of my fears was that I was afraid of having a bowel movement.
A lot of women have that. A lot of women have that, don't they?
No, they do. They do. So I think that the main thing was that I was worried about my husband, like that's not something that we do in front of each other. And so I was worried that my husband would just be like, I'm out of here. Not really, but you know what I mean? But that ended up actually coming up in a conversation because of the head trash. And I'm like, look, Rory's my husband. This is something that I'm afraid of. And he's like, that's silly. Like, it happens. It's okay. Like, I totally would not be freaked out by that. And so then it was just kind of like, oh, that was a silly fear. Anyway, so, but yeah, step 3 was probably the hardest part. And for some of them, it was changing, kind of tweaking the phrases just a little bit to fit my fear, which was very, very helpful for me. It just made me really, really dive into why am I afraid of this,
So what was the first thing that sparked off your fear clearance journey then? What was the first thing that made you think, because you said that you were quite, you were all right and it was all fine. And then you realized you maybe had something and you started picking and then it all came out. So what's the first thing that you decided to start with or that made you start that journey of fear clearance?
Well, this is going to sound a little vain, but I was worried about getting super fat and getting lots of stretch marks. And I'm sure lots of women worry about that. But I had that conversation again with my husband, and he was just kind of like, look, it's not going to happen for you, but this is something that you need to not be afraid of. If it does happen, you're going to get past it and you're going to, fix it later on. Everything's going to be fine. And so then it kind of kept coming back. And I was like, okay, he's right. I need to figure this out and not worry about this, because it was every day. It was, I'm worried to eat this or worried to eat that, which is silly especially when you're pregnant. You don't need to be worried about eating things. Good grief. And then I wasn't able to exercise as much as I could before because I didn't have the energy. And so then I started feeling bad about, and so then I really started cracking down on myself, like, okay, you need to figure this out, Grace. This isn't good for you. This isn't good for you mentally. This isn't good for your baby. And so then I started, I had already heard about your head trash clearing method. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll try that, and then it really became something that was helpful for me. So I kept using it with other things. So.
Oh, yeah. Good. So then you said lots, and then as you started doing stuff, more stuff came out. Like, so how did that, how did that kind of feel because I know what that's like, where sometimes you think, I'm just going to work on that thing, and suddenly there's this whole stuff that just kind of comes up, and like, whoa, I was all right before, now what's happened? So just kind of talk me through that experience for you.
Well, I think it was like the more research I did, the more it was like you realize that that's the thing, that women have bowel movement during birth, but it's like you don't even think about it until you read about it a couple of times, and then you're like, oh no, now I'm afraid of that. And so then you add that to your list of fears, and then you keep going, keep trucking, and then you go to like a breastfeeding class, and you hear about, okay, these are the problems that you can have, and then of course I'm like, oh no, what if my baby doesn't breastfeed right? What if I don't breastfeed? What if I have to go to formula? What if? And then, okay, now I can add that to my list. So then I just started adding, and I didn't necessarily keep a list. I do actually. I have a list now. Because whenever we started putting together our birth plan, we made that list actually together. But yeah, that's how it happened. It wasn't all at once necessarily. There were a couple of things. After I started working on the kind of body image stuff initially, then I started being like, oh, what else am I afraid of? And then, a couple of things came out. C-section wasn't necessarily one of them in the beginning. It wasn't until we started putting together our birth plan that I was really, really focused on that as a fear. It was on my list in the beginning, but, I was just kind of like, that's not going to happen to me,
I'll be all right.
Yeah, I'll be all right. Whatever. Yep.
So what happened? What happened that started focusing your mind? So you said you was writing the birth plan. Was there anything else that's going on that started sort of making some of this feel a bit more real to you, I guess, and maybe highlighting those fears a little bit more for you?
Well, it was whenever we were doing our birth plan, and I just started getting really terrified of having a C-section. My sister had a C-section about a year and a half before I was due. So I guess it was about 6 months before I got pregnant. And she had a breech baby. So, she didn't even have a choice in the matter. but it was just an awful experience for her. She didn't, I mean, I think it ended up being fine in the end, but she just, it's just not something that I wanted to experience. I wanted to have this perfect, beautiful birth, that was all natural, no drugs, no hospitals. I'm going to a birthing center. I'm going to have like this beautiful playlist, and it's all going to be dandelions and butterflies. And,
Sounds wonderful.
And like, don't get me wrong. I love medicine. Modern medicine is amazing. And I'm a nurse, so I work in a hospital, but I didn't want that. I wanted to have this experience, and it's a little selfish, I guess, but I wanted to have that experience. This is something that only I get to do, I get to birth my baby. And so I wanted to experience that, and I was really excited about it. And I felt like having a C-section was the ultimate, I don't get to experience that, So there were some different levels that I didn't want to happen, but I was afraid of. And one was having to go to the hospital. And then of course having to have an epidural, and then, progressively going more, I wasn't super afraid of an episiotomy, but that was kind of on the list. Like, I don't want this. And then the C-section was kind of at the end of the list. Like, this isn't going to happen. And, never, 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 never. But this is like our worst case scenario. Yeah. Like literally. And so that was
basically
it. But then
sorry to interrupt. You basically, in part of your prep, then you basically identified all your worst fears, and basically worked on addressing all your worst fears as part of your prep for your birth. That's basically what you did.
Yeah,
in a nutshell.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay,
I did.
Okay, so talk me through the the final stages of your pregnancy. Maybe the bit where labour might. I don't know. Tell me that labour beginning or due date arriving. Yeah. Talk me through that like final stage of pregnancy. How was that for you?
Okay. Yeah. So the last couple of weeks were pretty stressful. We had moved across the country. We moved into a house. We painted the whole house.
Wow.
And we were getting everything all situated. I was running around like a crazy person. Everything has to be perfect for the baby, because I'm not going to do anything at all after the baby's here, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what was going through my head. And I got sick. I had a cold, really bad cold, and I lost like 8 pounds because I couldn't eat really. It was bad. I didn't feel good. And so then, I was 38 weeks, 4 days, and woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning and kind of felt some period cramps and was like, oh, that's weird. Went to sleep, woke up a little bit later, felt them again. And I was like, huh. And so I just laid there in bed, and then they kept coming. And so I was like, oh, I should time this. Every 5 minutes, I would just get these little bitty period cramps, nothing crazy, like totally wouldn't notice it if I wasn't thinking about it. And it was pretty consistent. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm in labor. I was kind of in denial at that point. I was like, nah, probably not, but maybe. So I'm texting some people, hey, this might be happening. Maybe, probably not, maybe. I go to the gym. Because that's what everyone does when they go into labor.
Yeah. That's what everyone
I go
does.
to the gym, yeah. Because I was just going to go about my day, I go to the gym, and I was doing a bench press, very light bench press, just kind of get some muscles working. And I remember standing up, and I was like, oh, I peed myself a little bit. And so I'm kind of like walking to the bathroom like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I wore black spandex. So
so your water's broke in the gym, basically.
It broke. Oh, yes. Yeah. And it was leaking. So just a little bit leaking. Anyway, fast forward a little bit. My contractions just kind of stayed pretty consistent, started getting a little stronger. I just decided that I needed to stay busy, was going on, was walking around. I walked around Target and for like 2 hours. And I just stayed busy. And I eventually called my midwife and said, hey, this was after a while. I was in denial about the water breaking too. I was like, no, I'm just peeing myself periodically. I called my midwife, and she was like, hey, you should probably come in so we can check that out. So, it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. My husband, I had him come home from work early, and we drove to the birthing center together. It was about an hour away. By this time, my contractions were pretty strong, and it was like really bad back labor. So I'm in the car having a miserable time, trying to get comfortable while sitting at a seatbelt, and it was horrible. But yeah, so I get to the birthing center, and surprise, it's amniotic fluid. My water is broke. So now I'm kind of on a timeline here. And that was another thing that I didn't realize it was going to be stressful for me, but I was like, oh no, so I kind of had to, it's okay. Everything's fine. And then she checked me, checked my dilation, and I was at 4 centimeters, which I was like, man, I feel like I should be further than this. It's okay though. But then she was like, I feel something kind of weird. Maybe she's in a weird position. Maybe it's a hand over her head. I'm not really sure, but we should go to the hospital to get an ultrasound just to make sure. She's like, I think everything's fine, but just to make sure. And I was just completely oblivious at that point. I'm just like, oh, okay, that's fine. Whatever. It's all good. So we're super giddy. We're really excited. And we get to the hospital, which is like 2 minutes away, long walk away. And they do the ultrasound, and it was just this we were videotaping it actually. And my husband was holding the video camera of them doing the ultrasound, and all you hear is, we're giggling, oh, that tickles, or whatever. And then he just said, the ultrasound tech just says, oh, she's breech. And then you just see the camera drop, and he turns it off. And I mean, at that point, it was just this like horrifying, like, I don't even know how to describe it. Just like everything, just came crashing down on me, just like all these fears. I was just like, no, wait, no, this isn't supposed to be happening to me. Not me. Not with my perfect birth plan. So yeah, she was breech. So, after that, we were still kind of holding on to hope, like, oh, maybe they can do the version to turn her. And, it kind of started cascading down for us. Like, we were in a very bad place at that point, both of us, me and my husband. I mean, I honestly, I didn't even try to catch up mentally. I was just like, I was crying. Everything was falling through. This was it, this is it. But I was just like, I didn't even try to like be like, stop, wait, everything's going to be okay. Like, this is a beautiful birth too. I didn't try that at first. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. This is horrible. And so then of course it ended up being more horrible and more horrible and more horrible. There were a couple of things that happened before they tried the version that it was just like they missed my IV. And then they started freaking out because so this is something that we just like did not want to happen, just being in the hospital, having all these medical professionals running around us, and just constantly being in the room, and we can't even enjoy my labor and my birth and anything. And so anyway, so we get into the OR, and during the version, they had given me some medicine to stop my contractions so that they could move her better. And I was just shaking uncontrollably, just like that was a side effect of the medicine. And it was like I was cold and I was hot, and everything was just off, and I was crying, and I was just like shivering and shaking. And it wasn't until they were about to start the version that I just kind of realized what was going on. And I was like, oh, like, this is not good. Like, I have control over this situation. I can turn this around from being a nightmare to being something beautiful. And I did. I just stopped, and I remember I was holding my husband's hand. I was listening to Enya.
Good old
and
Enya.
Yes. She puts me in a good place. So I'm holding his hand, and I remember it wasn't even something that was between me and my husband. It was between me and my baby. I just kind of stopped and kind of went inside myself, inside my brain and started talking to Zoe, my little baby. And I was just like, hey, everything's okay. Like, and I just kind of felt this, like, this sorrow and this like sadness that I had done that to her, and because I knew that she had to be feeling so sad and like so stressed, because I was so sad and so stressed. And like, obviously she can't do anything about the situation that we're in. She's not going to just be like, bloop, flip over. But I absolutely know that whatever I'm feeling, she's feeling. And so, and I just felt so bad all of a sudden. I felt like I was being so selfish before, and I was just like, I'm sorry, Zoe. I'm sorry, baby. Like, everything's going to be okay. And then everything was okay. And I stopped shaking. I completely stopped shaking. They were like, oh no, she needs more medicine. And I was like, no, it's fine. And they were like, no, we don't believe you. So they checked, and I wasn't having any contractions, but I had stopped shaking. So they were like, this is weird. Anyway. But yeah, I just remember I was just like, I love C-sections. That thought floated by, and I was like, this is good. This is a good thing. If we didn't have these C-sections, if this wasn't possible, my breech baby might die. I might die, and that's not going to happen because of this wonderful thing that is a C-section, So I just stopped, and I was like, this is silly of me to be freaking out about this. This is what's happening right now. And, there's nothing I can necessarily do about it, but I can control how I'm feeling about it. And I just relaxed. And it didn't matter if they had the version worked or not. It didn't end up working, but it didn't matter. I was like, okay, that's fine. Whenever they were like, it's not going to work, we're going to have to do a C-section, I was like, okay, whatever. That's fine.
Bring it on.
And then, and then I was excited again. Like, I got that feeling back. I mean, I could have totally stayed in my pity party and been like, this is horrible, and C-sections are horrible, and I'm so sad about it all. But I got to have that experience that I wanted, and I got to be so excited to have my baby and see my baby for the first time. And I totally surpassed that feeling of sorrow and sadness and anger and all those negative emotions, and it became this like wonderful, beautiful thing that is supposed to be, anyway. So
no, so I'm crying inside. No, like when you emailed me and I read your email, I was in tears, and now I'm starting to cry all over again because it's just so beautiful that preparing in that way, you found that beautiful birth experience, and it's just lovely hearing you tell me that. So I'm just so grateful for you to share your story here with everybody, and I hope that everybody hearing that can see how it's just wonderful. Thank you so much, Grace, for sharing that.
Absolutely. So my pleasure.
So you had a wonderful C-section. So just tell us about that C-section then. Tell us about the C-section.
I did. We had this amazing anesthesiologist who he was so wonderful. He knew that this isn't what we wanted. He knew that this was devastating for us, and he was amazing. I wanted pictures. That was the main thing. Is like, I wanted pictures of my birth, and I wanted to have something to remember it by. And I asked the doctor, I was like, hey, can we take some pictures? And the OR doctor was like, no pictures. And I was like, I started crying. I was like, oh. And then he was like, okay, you can take some pictures, no videos though. So the anesthesiologist, I gave him my camera, and I look back after, a couple of hours we're in the room and everything, and he had taken like 6 or 7 videos. So they had this drape up over us, and whenever the baby, right when Zoe came out, they pulled the drape away, and there was just like a plastic area where you could see through. And so I got to see her coming out into the world. It was so beautiful. And I got to see her first little cry, and I really wanted to do skin to skin right away, but they had to do their whole thing where they check her out for like 10 minutes first, which was really annoying. But yeah. And I mean, I don't want to like completely overtake your night here, but I got to kind of accomplish another fear after that, because she had to go to the NICU because she had some fluid in her lungs. And that was another big thing, which I was just like, no. Oh my goodness. She ended up with an IV in her forehead, and, she had high flow oxygen on, and I didn't get to breastfeed for like 12 hours. But honestly, at that point, I had already changed my attitude, and everything was fine. Like, I was like, okay, this is good. Like, wow. Oxygen is good. IVs are good. I love IVs.
You are amazing. I love it. I just love your attitude. I love this story. I love it. Thank you so much. So, my goodness. So, literally all your fears just came true. Bang, 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 bang. And it's just amazing how you...
I know.
Yeah, wow. And here you are talking about your Like when you look back on your birth, how would you describe your birth experience now? Like when you think about
it was
birth.
Beautiful.
Wow.
I think it was exactly what it needed to be, and I think it was beautiful. And I have videos of me seeing my baby for the first time, and I cry every time I see it, and I see her, and she's perfect, and I love it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with it.
No.
Of course, I look forward to having a VBAC someday, and hopefully.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I don't freak out about it. I'm not like, oh, woe is me or anything. It's okay. Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah. Amazing. I love
C-sections.
Yeah, I love C-sections. It's brilliant. So
I love C-sections.
I'll have to do. Oh no, it's just so exciting hearing this story. So here, how old is Zoe now? Because we just waited a minute ago, didn't we? How old is she? She must be like, 5 months?
10 months old.
10 months, my goodness.
10 months old. Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy. Time flies.
So she's okay now. She's with all the stuff she had at the outfit. She's okay. Brilliant.
Absolutely, yeah. She was there. She was in the NICU for, I think, 18 hours, something like that. Okay. And then we were good to go. Everything was fine. So she's perfect.
So how long did you have to wait till you could come home?
We had to stay there for 3 days. It was 3 days. I think that's pretty standard for the hospital here. So
brilliant. Okay. And so new mum, like being a new mum, breastfeeding. You couldn't breastfeed at the hospital, but did you find breastfeeding okay? How did all that go for you?
It was great. Yes, I did. I was able to finally breastfeed her in the NICU whenever they took off her oxygen after like 10 or 11 hours. And she was perfect. She did great. I had an awesome breastfeeding consultant there who was helping me and giving me pointers, and it hurt a little bit, but that's okay. It's okay because you just work through that, and then everything's fine. And she's still breastfeeding, and she's an awesome kid. She's best thing that ever happened to me. So
brilliant. No, and we're doing this on video, so I can see you, and you're absolutely beaming. Just for people listening, so they won't be able to see this. It's just got the massive smile on, absolutely glowing.
I love talking about it. Like it's my birth story, and I love talking about it, and I'm not ashamed of it, and I'm not sad about it. I love it.
And that's what I love about this story. There's so many women that go through a similar experience to what you've had, where suddenly it all goes bang, 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 breach, emergency C-section, and they can't sit here afterwards talking about this amazing, positive, empowering birth story. And that's what I think is just so beautiful about this, is that you managed with your mindset, you just turned it around, and you love it. And that's what's so brilliant about this, is how you feel about that now. And it's, with the work that I try and do, at least you can't guarantee the outcome. But what you can do is
you can't.
But you can work on how you feel about the outcome. And that's what I love this story so well, is that, yes, it's so easy to feel positively about your beautiful water birth at home with candlelight. That's not hard to do.
Yeah.
But you've managed to do that with this experience, and that's what makes it such a wonderful story. So
right. And it's possible for anyone out there. You control the way you feel. You really do. And so work on it before you get there. You can't. It's going to be a little harder if you're in the moment, and then you're like, oh no, how do I clear this head trash again? I forgot. I don't know.
So did he use any of it? Did he use any of it in labour, or was it all because of the stuff you did beforehand? Did you do anything on the day?
Not much. I enjoyed my labour quite a bit. I did. It was beautiful. It really was. Like it hurt a little bit, just a little bit of pain. But it was great. Every time I would get that kind of pressure, lots of pressure in my back, I would just breathe and just kind of, relax and meditate a little bit, talk to my baby. It was like this little nudge reminder every 5 minutes, like, hey, you're going to have a baby soon. And so it was exciting, be 30 seconds to a minute of, some intense pressure. And then I just have another reminder. I'm going to have a baby today. It's so exciting,
I love it. Yeah, because I had that back pressure as well, and it was really, but it doesn't last long, and as long as you can kind of stay present, and then it goes again, and then you're right.
It goes away.
Yeah.
It goes away.
Brilliant. Well, I'm just so pleased that we've got in touch and we've come and shared your story on here. And we can hear the little bouncy thing in the background.
You hear it, yes.
That's Zoe bouncing on her
That's her music, yes.
It's brilliant.
Got to do something to keep the baby happy.
Absolutely, while we have our chat. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, we were also chatting off camera about what else you do, because you do, which I think it'd just be worth sharing a little bit about because you do paleo food, don't you, for babies?
Yes.
Do you just want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
I'm just curious. I'm curious more than anything because I'm nosy. And I thought, actually, there must be somebody else who's nosy about this. So just tell us a little bit about your journey, your experience, your knowledge about paleo for baby
Yeah,
food.
Absolutely. So I have been kind of following a paleo lifestyle for the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years. Dabbled in a little bit of vegan, vegetarian, just a little junk food here and there, whatever. And this is the lifestyle that really works for me and that I feel best in. So it's just a whole foods diet. You eat your fruits and vegetables and some clean meats. I like to buy local meat here. And anyway, so I also love to cook. I love to cook. It's like one of my passions. And so I decided to start sharing it with the world. I have a YouTube channel. It's called My Paleo Kitchen. And I have lots of stuff on there. I have, anywhere from paleo sloppy joes to, how to roast potatoes. And then I have lots of baby food recipes, applesauce, sweet potato stuff. I had a banana pancake one, and I always put my little baby in there. I'd like to show her off.
Well, I'm going to have loads of links to all this stuff in the podcast show notes for this episode. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Grace.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to talk to you, Alexia.
Well, there you have it. That was Grace's positive birth story. Now, there is so much, I think, for anyone to learn from that story, and that is namely that you can't choose what happens to you in life and birth in anything, but what you can do is choose how you respond to that. But it's not always easy to make that mindful choice as to how you respond to a situation, because often we get so caught up in the situation we find it very difficult to take a step back. And so it was incredible that Grace was able to do that in a situation such as being in labour, to be able to sort of stop her emotional reaction unfolding and really kind of pause it and make a conscious choice as to how she wanted that to unfold and how she wanted to respond and therefore feel emotionally in that situation. And that is not something you can just switch on. That's something that does take preparing for. It does mean that you do have to do the work. So when Grace talks about having spent time preparing for her birth by facing up to her fears and doing all that kind of work, that work really does help you and put you into good position to be able to do that. And so to just think that you can rock up to birth and be able to do that on the day, if you haven't done any kind of emotional and mental preparation in the lead up, is really sort of setting yourself up for a challenging situation, because it's going to be very, very difficult for you. So it really is worth using your time in your pregnancy to prepare in any way that you find helpful. And so Grace used the 5-step head trash clearance method. Now, if you want to give the 5-step method a try, then you can get hold of a light version of the method from the Fear Free Childbirth members area. You can also get hold of it from the Head Trash website at headtrash.co.uk. Just on the homepage, it's available for you to sign up and receive straight in your inbox. Now, it is a light version because the full version does require a little bit more training. So I've got a little mini training that you can get hold of with videos and audios and downloads and all that kind of stuff to really help you to make the best use of the technique and get brilliant results. So you can download the light version, give it a go. I use the light version to get rid of my phobia of needles, so you can still achieve great things with the light version. And if you find you get on with it and it's something that you think you want to use, then you can get hold of the full training if that's what you want. The head trash clearance method is also the fear clearance method that is within the Fearless Birthing Academy. So if you do sign up for the Fearless Birthing Academy, you will get the head trash clearance method training in there anyway, along with loads of other stuff too. So it's all there if that's what you want to do, if that's how you want to prepare for your birth. Obviously, as I said earlier, other fear and clearance methods are available. but that is what I know works because I am getting amazing results with my clients, and that's what I use to get amazing results for myself. And if you are a birth professional who would like to use the fear clearance method with your clients and you're interested in training, then I will be running some trainings. So do get in touch with me at the Fear Free Childbirth site if you want to find out more information. If so, maybe you're a doula, maybe you're a midwife, maybe you're some other kind of birth professional, a birth therapist, or somebody who works with women to get rid of their fears, then do get in touch because I will be running a training very soon. Okay, that's it for today's episode. I hope you found today's episode useful, interesting, heartwarming, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you again next time. Bye for now. You've just been listening to me, Alexia Leachman, here on the Fear Free Childbirth podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, this is just a wee reminder that if you'd like to listen to bonus podcast episodes and have access to loads of birth preparation downloads, my video mini-series on reducing your fears, and so much more, then join the Fearless Mummership community today. You can join at fearfreechildbirth.com. Until next time, bye for now.